All right. Welcome to the Eighth Note Sessions. I'm Devin Mullen.
And I'm Mike Shamil.
And today we have a very interesting guest, Denny Kremblas of Squeeze and Thanks. How you doing, Denny?
Hey, guys. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So Denny is a fascinating character in the music scene. He is a bit of a late arriver, if his own story is to be believed. Apparently he didn't start until he was 30, but I don't know. I think there's something intrinsically musical about him. I think he had the song in his heart the entire time.
Somewhere some video of him when he's 22 is gonna surface. It's gonna be some really pixelated, shaky flip phone video. It's gonna be ha. No,
we found you out.
No, I mean I have been playing the accordion about 9 years now, but I haven't been pursuing it until the last two. I did my first open mic in March of 19. So yeah.
I think what's really interesting about you, Denny, is that music is obviously a big part of what you do, but you are one of the few truly interdisciplinary artists that I personally know. You combine film, you combine performative aspects in sort of not exactly acting, but it's very persona based. You have the marketing down and pat. You just have a lot of business savvy with it. And it's fascinating to see because obviously this is something that you're passionate about, but you're able to navigate it so deftly.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? How do you do that?
Very early on, after I've made my first video, my first big video where I covered Post Malone's music and did that, I just started diving deep into learning the aspects of music marketing, and I took 2 different courses now. Not cheap at all, but it definitely teaches you. It teaches you what you need to know, how to market your music, how to develop a brand. I'm just getting into my website now. I finally released my website, squeezeandthanks.com.
Hey.
And I'm just kind of slowly putting all the pieces together from some of the lessons that I've learned in the classes that I took early on. So there was definitely a level of strategy to it. I knew, being 30 years old, starting a music career, I have so much I need to catch up on, and I'm just kind of doing my best to do that.
I think you're doing an excellent job. As far as those lessons go, if permit, I know they were rather costly, but maybe as a bit of public charity.
Yeah.
What would maybe two big lessons, 2 generic sort of bits of wisdom because I have a difficulty with that for my own music. The idea of marketing myself, there's something complicated about it.
Mm-hmm.
What are the first things to consider when navigating that?
Let me see. I mean, there's really just so many different aspects to it, and it's tough for me to say because I'm starting with an unfair advantage. I have years and years and years of video background, so for me, my strategy was video. And some of the courses that I took, one of the courses in specific was more of how to it was more of the viral method on how to make a viral music video and get it seen and stuff like that. And my whole approach is kind of with that in mind. And I know there's musicians that are just true, genuine musicians that would probably disagree with pandering like that, but that's kind of just all my strategy. And I'm just kind of playing on my strong suits, you know what I mean? And I would say that doing covers and stuff, it makes it easier for me because I'm not a super strong musician, and being able to do covers and stuff, the music's already kind of there. And some songs are harder than others, but I'm learning as I'm going. And I don't know if I can can narrow it down to like one or two
Okay,
specific things. But
when you pick a cover, do you have like a criteria for it? Do you just go with what feels correct? Is it?
Yeah, something that has a melody, something that's very melody driven. Because like a lot of pop music, like I'll have people say like, "Oh, well, why don't you do this song by this rapper or whatever?" And I'll listen to it, and it's like da 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 da. It's like two notes going back and forth. You know what I mean?
And that kind of music doesn't really lend itself well to like the accordion, which is by nature a very melodic instrument. You really, it would be boring to be playing basically a really simple part in repetition on the accordion. It wants to sing.
Yeah. So anything that has like dynamics. I also one thing that I'm always on is the Billboard 100, the Billboard Top 100. I'm always looking at that and seeing what's climbing and what's falling. Really doing the viral method, like one big, huge piece of advice that I would say is, if you're going to do something, do it as quickly as you can. Not rushing it. Like you still want quality, but the faster you can get a song out, or the faster you can discover a song before everybody else discovers it, and you can make a video and put the video out, it's going to ride this curve that will naturally take it. Whereas if you just pick like, you like a song by Journey or something, and you just do a Journey song, it's like, yeah, you're going to like, when people maybe search it out, like maybe they'll search like Journey accordion, and like a ton of people have already done it by then, and you go through the list and your video might show up 20th on the, you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely an advantage to just watching the trends in music and watching what comes up. So I'm always just listening for just that stuff that just kind of makes you feel good. And I can't really put a word on it. I can't really define it, but like, it's just
more in here sort of thing.
Yeah. It's something that just flicks a switch. Like I know the song Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, when I first heard that, I'm like, there's no way this song is not going to blow up. And just sure enough, it's like right at the top now. I did want to do a cover to that, but then part of what I do is remake music videos as well. Those are usually the projects that I like really enjoy. If I remake a video, it's because I really love the song. That's something that I'm definitely going to be doing soon is that video. It's just a matter of trying to line up everything. We were trying to shoot inside of Shays, and I'm having trouble figuring out how to do that.
Well, especially now with like the lockdown. I mean,
it's
coordinating everything right now is a challenge.
Yeah.
So perhaps two lessons then. Be current.
Yep.
And believe in what you're doing. Actually enjoy it.
Yeah, and if you're not enjoying it, or if you're doing it for the other reasons, it's not going to take off. And I don't know. I still have so much I need to do. I have a lot of stuff. I just got to keep making videos. Really, I put a lot of work into my videos, which is good. But at the same time, I'm not putting out a lot of stuff to get noticed on YouTube, which is really my end goal.
That's aggressive.
You need to put stuff out like every 2 weeks, every week. And
in order to stay up on those trending lists, you really do have to kind of keep like poking that algorithm and keep it's almost like bouncing a volleyball. The moment you stop giving effort, it's just going to hit the sand, and you got to start everything back up again.
I had about a 6-month break from my last video. I did a video in October. I had that 6-month spell of not being able to play because my shoulder was injured. Now I released like 2 other videos, and like it's just, you can tell that the performance of the videos is just dropping because I wasn't consistent. I was making videos, regularly about once a month or so, and then I dropped off for 6 months, and YouTube doesn't like that. So
lesson number 3 then, understand that there are algorithmic requirements that you need to, a certain threshold you need to break in terms of how much content you're getting out in order to actually be visible.
And I'm sure that applies for many platforms, just different degrees. But with what I'm doing with YouTube, with the videos and stuff, like YouTube is the platform that I need to be focusing on. And
we actually shared a video you had shot, and I was an extra in actually the Jen DeSantis Unrequited video.
Yeah.
Which you had picked a couple cool venues out for that. I was curious, what when you do a collaborative video, do the artists normally come to you with like a fully just stated idea, or do you offer suggestions? Is it kind of a communication about it?
It's kind of like a back and forth. It's kind of like managing expectations, kind of educating them on, like, they might have an idea that, like, oh, I want to do this, and you look at it and it's like, well, we have to rent this location, we need a green screen, or we need certain lights. You kind of have to bring people back down, but also give alternative solutions that build it up in a way where it's like, oh, well, this is maybe not exactly my vision, but I like this because this is like still super cool. So with what Jen wanted to do, we added like some other locations. We kind of like had to like figure out how to like fit locations in. She wanted to shoot at a roller rink, and I was thinking like, well, how can we? What's the story? How do we do that? And I thought, well, what if they break in to the roller rink? What if she takes her on this date to the roller rink and breaks in and shows her this amazing time that nobody would ever experience? And that's just what we did. We got a hold of the place, and they said that they were cool with us shooting there, and we just made it look like they broke in and had the time of their life.
I was wondering why they were alone in there. That makes perfect sense. I was like,
yeah,
that's real sweet, but interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it hard to get like venues to really get on board with shooting music videos? Like, do they see your emails and go like, or are they generally like pretty supportive?
Generally, it's most people are pretty supportive. I try and link some of the past work we've done. So if they get a chance to see that, they'll immediately know that this isn't just like some college project, but it's a serious thing, and that we put a lot of time and effort into it. But we haven't shot in too many locations. We shot at Gypsy Parlor for Jen's video. I've done 2 of my videos at Gypsy Parlor. I did a little private show there for Christmas. I tend to use the locations that we have access to.
Yeah. Pick the people that you've had a personal interaction with, because it's a lot easier to approach a venue when you've actually spent enough time there to actually build a rapport with the staff there, because then you're not just some like rando coming up and asking them something crazy. You actually have a line of dialogue, and I sometimes remind people that when they're looking at venues just to perform at, it's always good to not just like scout the location online and look it up, but actually get out there and have a few beers there and talk to the people there and kind of establish that connection, because it's worth way more than any email, and it takes an email or a text or a phone call that you've sent and really kind of gives a lot more weight to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I definitely think that the relationship that I have with Gypsy Parlor is, I don't know, Gabby's just super awesome. Even the first video that we did there, where she didn't really know us that well, she was just great.
So, recent projects. Obviously you're still getting over this, and it makes sense. You look at that thing; it looks like an engine block. I mean, I mean, you're pretty buff, and it's probably 95% the accordion. I get it. It's fine.
Do you lift, bro? No, I squeeze. Do you squeeze, bro?
Yeah, the accordion, it weighs about 30 pounds, and that's just constantly pulling your shoulders forward. And when I first got my red accordion, which is my main accordion, I cut off the back straps because I wasn't using them very much, and I was doing like a lot of videos where I was like acting and like using the accordion, and like I'd have to like throw it over my shoulder real quick or put it on real quick, and it just kind of got in the way, and I cut it off. And later, like especially like last year, as we were going into the winter, my shoulder was just getting so bad that I just couldn't play anymore. And I was like, even sitting down playing was just, it was too much. So I had to set it down and take some time away and just get back to the basics of physical therapy and stuff. I kind of stopped going to the gym for a little bit. I was like so focused on music and making videos and stuff that I was going to the gym. And then like once I started like really leaning into music more, I stopped going. And I think that just the lack of going to the gym was catching up to me, so
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely. It's not the instrument for for people who aren't willing to be dedicated.
Yeah.
It has a requirement that really like want to show up and play it on more than one bass. It's no. Oh, I picked that up and strum out a few chords once a year or two kind of thing. It's a serious man's instrument in a way.
Yeah. And at the same time too, like, I don't take it too serious. Like I take my videos very serious, but I don't take my music that serious. I'm just having fun with it. And if you really look at like what I'm doing, it's basic stuff, but I don't know. I love making videos and I just really want to nurture that. So I'm linking up with a teacher though, and I'm trading one of my accordions to him. He's going to be buying it and he's going to be trading me lessons. So I'm looking forward to just becoming a better musician. But yeah, like I said, at age 30, I just kind of, I want to get going with this. If I'm going to do it, I got to do it. So there's no sense in waiting until I'm perfect, until, you know what I mean? Because that might never happen.
Time's always ticking away.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we live in a world of a major gig economy anyway, so you might as well be doing something where being serious and having these moments of levity and having fun with it are the requirement,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you were telling us also about a video you were you go whole hog on your setups for your cinematography and everything. You said that you had like a camera like attached to the bottom of your accordion and you were on like, an electric skateboard.
Yeah. So I was thinking of this concept of doing attaching a 360 camera to the bottom of the accordion, and the 360 cameras they're on a pole, and the way they work is you don't tilt the camera like this, like a selfie stick, but you put it straight up and down. It's got one lens on this side, one lens on that side, and it stitches out the body. But if you align it with the pole, it'll stitch out the pole. So I put that on the bottom of my accordion. I had the camera kind of just out in front of me, and I was riding my electric skateboard just because
why not?
Yeah. Because if I was just standing there and moving around, the camera would kind of be moving around and it would be kind of jerky and it wouldn't look great. But I thought, like, if I'm just standing on an electric skateboard going 15 miles an hour, that's going to look super cool. And it doesn't, like, I've been skateboarding since I was like 14, so my balance is pretty good. So it really wasn't difficult to ride and play. But I knew it would look cool. And when I got back, it looked way, like, once I started messing with like the 360 footage, like it's insane, because when you hit record, you're recording everything, and you pick your angle later, you edit your angle later.
Right, and you can move that around, right? You're not always just looking at the scenery zipping by you. I mean, you could just kind of like sort of whip it around to like where you're heading, or like if you're running under some trees or something, you can flip it up and show the trees going overhead and just the top of your head and the accordions. It gives you that like really broad set of colors on your palette to paint with, and that's a really like creative way to say, all right, I'm not just going to make an accordion music video of me skateboarding that looks like every other skateboarding music video or video in general that everyone's seen since Tony Hawk 2. Like, that's a great way to just be like, all right, I'm going to take some elements that people have seen before, but I'm going to really deliver them in a way that nobody's ever thought of before. That's really cool.
Yeah. I'm always thinking something, trying to do something different, but yeah.
So that's lesson number 4. Hey, we're just gonna keep wrapping off the lessons.
Tally them up.
It's like a master class of some sort.
So lesson number 4 is be interdisciplinary and incorporate elements of motion and dynamism, movement, where you can.
I think
I think generally, I mean, if you're looking at a video of just like a room and nothing's moving, it's, you know what I mean. But if you're looking at just anything, even like if it's just a wire on like a wire, and there's like a pair of sneakers or something that's kind of like blowing around in the wind, like this is talking videography, but like things with motion look good. Anything with motion usually looks good. So yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think that's a general line that runs through your work. Before we start these interviews, we normally have like a warm-up conversation. And I was trying to make a point, and I just don't think I was getting there, and that's on me. That's fine. But basically,
you got too esoteric.
It's a perpetual problem of mine. I can't help it. What is very characteristic of your work, Denny, is again this sort of motion, and I just love how you incorporate the visual, you incorporate the audio, but also the sort of emotional with it. I mean, you're not doing Shakespeare in these videos, of course, but there is sort of a joy in watching you perform and watching the work you do, and I think you bring that to full bear.
Thank you.
You do so much, though. I mean, is it really necessary to have all these different elements to express yourself, or is it?
No, I mean to express yourself. No, I'm a very multi-dimensional person. Like if you look at how my day goes about and how I like get to the end of a task, I'm usually doing like 6 other things while I'm getting something else done. I'm always all over the place, and my whole life I've always been kind of that way. So I have like just different dimensions of what I'm doing, the video and the music, and even just a little bit like we talked about earlier, like trying to get the accordion chord chart and everything. There's always something, and I don't know. As long as I'm creating, I'm happy. As long as I have a project in front of me, I'm happy. If when I don't have something to work on, that's when I start to really have that itch, and it doesn't get satisfied until I'm releasing something. So, yeah.
And some of our best work comes from when we take different talents and passions of ours and find some way to kind of weave them together into one thing. I mean, for you, it makes sense to weave your cinematography and your music together. I watched parts of a film you released a few years ago, the Detective Randy Noir.
Yeah.
What surprised me is like not random, but I was unexpected that there were some like music video hip hop elements kind of like woven into the movie, like like certain scenes were musical scenes, and that was like really creative. But it showed to me that you already had that that musical flow in the background, kind of already working into your cinematography even before you really started to publicly play your accordion. Because this was what, 2014, 2015?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
So that's already a couple years before you start showing up at Gypsy Parlor.
Yeah.
So it shows that you already had like those ideas kind of marinating back there until you could find a way to really kind of bring them all out. And for me personally, like I love seeing that kind of stuff. I love seeing the different things that people enjoy doing, because when they're doing all those things together, that's when you see somebody smiling the biggest as they're performing or creating something, where they're just so in love with that moment because it's all the things that are about them, happening all in symphony. So that's a really great thing for you to pursue. Finding ways to go, okay, how can I make this more than just another music video on YouTube or another person playing in front of a camera? It's I really like doing this, and I have a really funny idea. And what if the kid handed Post Malone a can of Axe, what would Post Malone's reaction be? What would be on his face in that moment?
Yeah.
How would I accentuate that moment with my playing? How would I time that to the music to really give it the most impact?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of.
By the way, that scene cracked me up. The kid just pinching his nose. It's he's just what? And I remember how there was that thing going on around where that rumor where everyone's Post Malone's kind of gross on tour. So if you could kind of sprinkle that in there. And,
just enough.
Yeah, just to play with it a little bit, and then he just kind of turns it around and uses a can to burn the fox puppet in the background and kind of make it sort of serious and cinematic yet still playful because it's a puppet. That was great. That was really well thought.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, when I had that idea, I was just I literally had that aha moment, because in the actual video, he kills the fox with a blowgun, like a blowtorch, like a huge flamethrower. And as soon as I made that connection with the axe, the axe is flammable, I'm like, holy shit! I have a torch right here. That's perfect, and it plays off of the fact that at that point in his life he wasn't too hygienic. But
well, I hope he's changed his ways now.
Yeah, I heard he has. Yeah.
So, last couple questions. Mm-hmm. One, for your tastes, not as the end all be all authority on it, but just for your sensibilities, what differentiates a good music video from not a bad music video, but maybe an unsuccessful one?
If it keeps your attention. I think if you scrolled past it, you failed, in some way to keep somebody's attention. I'm always, now more than ever, I'm thinking, what can I do in the first few seconds to tie somebody in? So I just did a video where I was riding the subways down in Buffalo. I was riding the Metro rail, and me and my buddy Jason is another filmmaker as well. He does all my cinematography when I can't do it myself. But yeah, Jason was lining up a shot, and we were kind of talking back and forth. I'm like, well, if we don't show me in the beginning, how are people going to know to stay on the video until it pans over to me? So he's like, well, what if we have you just walk by real quick? And we tied that in, and that just, it's enough where it's if you see somebody wearing an accordion walking by real quick in the first,
what's going to happen next? What's going on here?
Yeah. You see that in the first 3 seconds, that might keep you around for 15 seconds. And then the next 15 seconds might keep you around for the next 30, I think that, yeah, it's an attention thing, because everybody has ADHD to some extent now, because there's just so much out there that you're competing against, and you're competing with somebody's picture of their dinner, somebody's picture of their kids, you know what I mean? That's yeah. So if you can keep somebody's attention, that's gonna help. It's gonna keep your audience. It's gonna retain your audience, hopefully to the end of the video, and it'll just, in general, that'll help.
So lesson number 6?
I've lost count. Okay. This has been very I'm hoping that out of all the people that watch this, some of our more budding musicians in the community catch some of these sessions and learn some things from it, because that's one of the things that's always great about this music scene, especially here in Buffalo. There's a lot of raw creative talent. We were talking a little bit in the last video with Mike Rochon how we noticed that they're to finish my original point, I hope that some of the younger musicians take this and run with it. But to my second point, before I forget, I've noticed that the music scene and the film scene in Buffalo have a lot of things in common. And lately I've been trying to find ways to see, where the parallels are that can be bridged between the two. And Mike had done the 48-hour film festival with his daughter and some friends, and it was pretty cool. And they ended up it just happens that they were given the challenge of making a musical, so he had to score the whole thing, and he had talked a little bit about his challenges there. But you're another person who's kind of bridging that gap of the two very creative scenes in Buffalo that have a lot in common. They use a lot of the same equipment. They have, a lot of the same requirements of keeping people's attention, and they both convey emotion through a very dynamic medium. It's not like still art or something. Music and video, they go hand in hand, obviously, but they both have a lot of like flow to them. There's a lot of stuff going on, and in a lot of ways you can really get creative in stirring emotions up in the viewer or / listener. So for me, I think it's just so fascinating to find someone else that is already blending those two things together and straddling those two scenes, because I personally feel that those two scenes should be a little bit more interwoven. I think they'd benefit a lot from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I think a lot of people don't, growing up, like, this is a good message for anybody like younger that's still in school. If you're in a class with like video production, like that's a very valuable thing. That's an extremely valuable thing that I don't think people realize. Like, we're in TV production, like I got to go shoot this like 15-second commercial that'll fill this slot, like that. Like, if I didn't have skateboarding, like I learned all my video stuff through skateboarding, through making sponsor me tapes and trying to get sponsored and stuff like that. And you spend 2-3 days on a trick, you want to be able to see it when you finally get it. So all of my teaching was all like, my university was like skateboarding. Like, I made websites, I had a team. We would go out to skate parks every weekend and make a video and make these little montages. And like, if I didn't have that, like, the only other way I would have been exposed to it is in school, and that's where people are exposed to it. And I really can't stress enough, like, how much it's helped me, like, being able to make good video and everything that surrounds that, like with even making a website, knowing how to take a photo, knowing how to create images by manipulating the camera settings. There's such a benefit to that. And if you do know how to do that stuff, you're then valuable to somebody else who does it. Therefore, it'll set you up for a trade. And like with me and Jason, the guy who does all my video stuff, I'll help him on his video projects and he helps me with mine. So like, that's like invaluable. Like, you know what I mean? To get a level of quality, like if you connect with the right people, it can take you so much further than anything else. Like, so yeah, having some sort of like media related trade, whether that's websites or photography or video, that'll help you out immensely with your own journey. But then you can also use that as a trade for other things. You know what I mean? And you're bringing value.
I'm keeping count.
Keep that counter going. But it's been the one thing that's really helped me is just collaborating with other people and being able to reciprocate that by giving them value and whatever they need help with,
Yeah, and that gives another point too on collaborating. When we first enter the music scene, a lot of people have the misconception that it's more of a competition. But once you start viewing things in the lens of collaboration, and you start seeing how everyone can build off each other mutually, number one, it's a lot more fun because you get that sense of community and you get that sense of, oh, I belong here, and this is a blast and I'm surrounded by other people that enjoy a lot of the same things as me. But also it really takes some of the stress out of it, because when you think of everything as a competition, you almost feel like antagonistic towards other bands, like, oh man, like everyone's out to like bury my music and it's never going to get anywhere because everyone's just going to like, topple over me. And it's just such a defeating mindset. It doesn't help the other musicians in the scene, and it certainly doesn't get your music out to other people. But when you start collaborating, you start finding ways to like bill shows with other bands, and that gets you access to each other's fans, and things kind of grow from there. And jumping into video projects, well, now you're getting out on the internet more. Now you're finding ways that to take your music into a whole new dimension that you couldn't have if you were just sitting there going like, I gotta, I'm not gonna collaborate with anyone else. What if they let me down? If you just try and build those connections and make some friends and have some fun with it, it's a blast. It makes the whole thing so much cooler.
Yeah.
And I think though, because yes, obviously this is a collaborative endeavor, through and through. So I think lesson number 10 would be, fully embracing the sort of bartering of skill. It doesn't always have to be sort of a dollar amount. You can trade things of equal value in terms of what you're able to do.
Yeah. I mean, and if you can find a way to be good at least one component of like something that is part of the music scene, like whatever that is, recording, making videos, shooting photos, building websites, printing t-shirts, like any of that stuff, like is all valuable stuff. So if you are a musician, it definitely helps to reconsider some of the trades out there that would directly benefit you.
Yeah. When I was just merging into the scene with my hard rock band Theika, I mean, outside of our friends in Hamburg, when we started trying to play in the city, nobody knew any of us, and we didn't know anybody. Mm-hmm. But I knew how to do sound, and one of the ways I got us some, better gig opportunities where we got to at least get in front of some audiences rather than paying into some like schemes and stuff like that are out there that try to trap young musicians. I learned pretty quickly the hard way that there's a big demand for people that are like competent at doing sound, and I had already experienced doing like musicals and stuff in school and like running sound for those, and which are way more complicated than like a 3-piece rock band. So I started like trading out. It's like, all right, you put us on this show with these other bands that are billing pretty well, and get us some real exposure, not some like vaporware, but like actually like get us in front of some audiences that might like us with some bands that are in a similar vein. And in exchange, I'll do sound and work door for a handful of other shows. And it was a really nice deal because, it helped my, my sound skills because I was keeping in practice with that. Because it's one of those things that you really got to keep up on. If you don't do it for a few years, you get kind of rusty. So it was beneficial for all the parties involved. They got, free sound guys because sound guys can charge pretty good. And at the same time, we got better gigs and I got to keep my skills up to snuff. So, look for those opportunities to take the skills you have or the skills that you're trying to get better at and put them to use, and let them benefit others and also benefit your craft.
Yeah.
It's like Confucianism. It's the 11-fold path. That's lesson number 11. All right. So I think, whipping that in for some reason. So we are about out of time. So just to step away from the pedagogy of music industry, a simple question. Once this lockdown is lifted, what venue are you going to go to, and what drink are you going to order?
Ooh.
That's a good question. I don't go out too often. I don't drink too often, but I think after all this mess, I think all of us need a good drink after this. But I really enjoyed Riverworks when I was there for Music is Art, and that was a spot that I wasn't at. I hadn't seen it set up in there like it was with like the big stage and everything. And I think that once everything's lifted, I would definitely like to check out another show over there with a Captain and Coke in hand.
There we go. So this has been our third Eighth Note session. I'm Devin Mullen.
I'm Mike Shamil.
And I'm Denny Kremblas. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on and letting us pick your brain and share some of your experience.
Yeah, I look forward to doing this again soon. Yeah.
You betcha. We'll catch you next time.
Take care, guys. Have a good night.
Here is an excerpt from Roxanne by Squeeze and Thanks. Don't forget to check out our artist music at squeezeandthanks.com. This has been produced by Music is Art. Thank you for listening.